Today, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about the work that we're doing to help bring some more folks to be a part of the magic that we heard about here and the inspiration. And I'm going to introduce first our pipeline coordinator, senior pipeline coordinator. I'm not great with titles. Her name is Anita Johnson, and she's going to start out and tell a little bit of a story. Yeah, and this is a reminder, don't look like this. We got to keep you awake, okay? So if you kind of look like this, just stand up and stretch, okay? And that's completely acceptable. So with that, with no further ado, I am going to introduce Ms. Anita Johnson, who, by the way, I know will be the first African-American woman senator of this state, and she is for family medicine and lives it, breathes it, and is bringing people to it. So, Ms. Johnson, come on up.
Thank you so much, Judge. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I am Anita Johnson, as she mentioned, and I have the pleasure of working with our high school students and undergraduate students in the Health Professions Affinity Community Program. Real quick, I would like to share something with you. About 5 years ago, Dr. Gina Weisblat came back from a conference, and she shared a statistic with me. She was at the AAMC conference, and she came back and shared the number of African-American males who applied to medical school. And then the graphic showed how many ended up being accepted. That graphic had an imprint on me that I went back and shared it with my high school students. And 2 years later, during a speech, one of my students named Daniel Gonzalez spoke. He said that he wanted to become a primary care doctor because of that slide that I showed him. Because when he saw the number of African-American males that actually got accepted, that bothered him. And so he wanted to add to that number. He is currently a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania, where he received a full academic scholarship, and his major is medical anthropology and neuroscience. And I never knew that that impacted him that way. I knew it impacted me, which is why I wanted to share it with them, but for it to go that far, it just speaks volumes to the caliber of the students we get to work with. Now, I'm going to read a letter that embodies the work that HPAC does throughout the, Northeast Ohio. This is from a student named Yandez Webb. He is a senior at the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine, and here we go. Oh no, this was his letter, his application for the Common App for college. This was his application essay. I see my future as one of great value. Not because I am valuable or because the things I own are valuable, but because the people I work with are valuable. I see myself working with high school students to make a change in the world. The youth will inherit the future, and if we invest in them now, the outcome will be fruitful. In some communities, there are students that don't have the access to opportunities and resources that enable success. They feel as though they won't be anything in life. I know from experience that all it takes to motivate children is exposure to their possibilities. This will move them to go out and make their dreams realities. I learned this from the person that inspires me most, my mentor, Anita Johnson. She is the coordinator of a program called Health Professions Affinity Community, a program that allows students to focus on medical disparities within their community. The students develop a group that then implements a plan to alleviate these disparities. It is her job to help us succeed in our groups, but what inspires me most is her passion for the long-term success of her students. Before joining HPAC, I was not half the person I am today. I had no motivation, drive, or spine. Teachers were often concerned because I never spoke in class. This all changed when I met the powerhouse of passion that was Anita Johnson. She led me to find my own voice by making me give spot presentations and constantly giving motivational speeches saying, "Don't be a statistic." To me, a student from a low-income, predominantly African-American, failing school district, that phrase spoke volumes and sparked a fire within me. I will inspire the future. It is because of Anita Johnson that I want to help high school students reach their full potential and help them be change agents in society. The simple act of letting them know they are worth something great creates an inner drive to do better. I will cause that drive in students. When students find their passion, They go out and do wonderful things in the world. What they do creates value. Our society has created emotional barriers in communities lacking resources. I want to spend my future tearing down this barrier. I see myself filled with a strong spirit for the betterment of underprivileged students. Their success will be my success. At this moment, I would like to transfer the stage over to Laura Yater, who is a second-year student at NeoMed, and she came in through the BSMD pathway, and she's on the rural track.
Thank you, Anita. Hi guys, I'm Laura Yater. As she said, I'm a second-year medical student at Northeast Ohio Medical University, and I'm just here to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing as a student, what I'm doing with our rural pathway, and how I ended up here in front of you today. So my story with medicine started when I was a little girl. My mom said when I was around 5 or 6, I said, "Hey mom, can I become a doctor? Should I become a doctor?" And she said, "You know, Laura, if you're anything like me, your stomach's not going to be able to handle that, the blood and the shots and all that, you're not going to be able to do it." So I said, okay, and I kind of gave up on becoming a doctor. And a couple of years later, I went away to a camp, and we ended up skinning fish. And I came home and I said, "Mom, I skinned a fish. I can become a doctor, right?" And so she said, "All right, you know what, you can become a doctor." So she got on board and she started to help me, and she found NeoMed, and she said, "Laura, they have this really awesome program for students in 8th grade. So as an 8th grader, I went and spent a couple of nights at NeoMed, and I said, "I love this place. I'm going to go to medical school here. This is where I'm headed. I'm going here." So I was involved in Health Success at NeoMed, which is another program run in concourse with the HPAC program they're talking about. And I was involved in all of their high school education programs at NeoMed. And then I ended up applying to the BSMD program, a 2+4 BSMD program. I attended Youngstown State University for 2 years, and now I'm a second-year medical student at NeoMed, so that's how I am here at this point. So the reason I'm here speaking is because I'm from a rural area. Where I grew up is very rural. My school graduates 65 to 70 students a year, and as a student I noticed that there's a lot of disparities in the guidance and opportunities that were presented to different students in my community. So that was something that I was really concerned about. Why is this happening? Why, since my parents are able, do I get better opportunities than other students? So because of this, I really started to explore it. And these two students on the screen, Ashley and Luke, really are what made me say something has to change. So Luke was a student who knew he didn't want to go to college. He knew he wanted to become an electrician. Was told, the only way to success is through a college degree. So he was sent to college, hated it, dropped out, spent a significant amount of money to go to private school for a year, and then ended up becoming an electrician where he's very happy, making a great living, making a great contribution to society. And then the exact opposite is Ashley, who wanted to go to medical school and was told, even though you probably aren't qualified for medical school, we're going to send you on that path anyway. Where someone should have sat her down and said, "Hey, you are going to be an incredible healthcare provider. Let's get you on the right track for you. So let's get you in nursing school or on the track to go to PA school and get her going in the right way." So for me, I saw all of these disparities where students weren't getting the maximized opportunities that they had. So I started to work with Dr. Weisblat and my advisors at NeoMed, and we started to make a program for rural schools where we could teach and educate and allow these students at a young age to see the opportunities that they have, to see what they're capable of, and also know that you don't have to go to college to be successful, but you have to maximize what you do have. You have to maximize the resources that you have, the brains that you have, the opportunities that you have. So we've just recently started this year. The students on the screen are my fellow rural pathway students, and we just went out and met with the 8th grade students, and we just talked to them about their personalities and their opportunities and how they can become what they want to be, but that you shouldn't be held back by where you're from. So that was something that's really important to me, and I'm just wanting to make sure that everyone knows we're all really busy. Obviously, it's really busy as a student, but if you're passionate about it, if it's something that you value, we can make time to make a difference in the lives of those around us, and we really can go out and make a big impact. So Now I'm going to pass it off to Hannah Miller. She's a third-year nursing student at Kent State University, and she's a 2-year HPAC member who's here to talk about some of the work that she's done.
Good morning, everyone. Let me take you on a little journey back in time. So it's a sunny spring Saturday in Little Creston, Ohio, and over 1,000 members from the Creston community and beyond have converged on the County Line Trailhead. What brings this many people from a small town together, you ask? Well, it has been said that it takes a village to raise a child. And in the case of our project here, it really took 3 villages to raise the County Line Trail Act. In rural communities, and Creston, which I'm talking about, has a population of about 2,100, and the high school is surrounded by cornfields. To give you an idea of what I mean by rural, we rally behind our own, and everyone helps out. So when I, along with several other students, decided to create an HPAC project to address the growing problem of adolescent inactivity and obesity, we had 2,000 individuals who, when asked, offered us endless support. We set out to develop a technology app which took users on an interactive journey of the County Line Trail. The trail has been converted from its days as a railroad and runs through the 3 junction towns of Rittman, Sterling, and Creston. To make the app appealing to individuals with different interests, it has 3 main components. First, a fitness circuit, which provides exercises for users to complete at marked intervals along the trail while walking and running. Second, a history component. As I mentioned before, the trail was converted from a railway, and as a result, there are some pretty cool historical places of interest. The place where President Taft gave a speech after his train was derailed during a campaign tour, the salt mines of the Morton Salt Company, and even the spot of an alleged ghost train. Finally, the nature and wildlife component, which points out creatures, critters, and plants along the trail. This component also focuses on agriculture, as it is the #1 industry in Wayne County. To give you an idea, there are about 5 million chickens in the county, compared to only 116,000 people. So, as you can see, this project was a bit of an undertaking for a small group of high school and middle school students. But as I mentioned before, we utilized volunteers and experts from the 3 villages the trail runs through. First, a grant from the Romick Foundation, started by local philanthropist and inventor Barry Romick, and sponsorship from over 100 local businesses, families, and individuals. This gave us the funding to begin app development. The development of the app was handled by a College of Worcester student from New Delhi, India, with help and consultation from a local web consulting firm. The history section was developed with help from local historians and former history teachers. And the science and nature component was developed by 4th graders from our local elementary school. They had help from their teacher, an entomologist, and a couple other individuals, including a retired biology teacher. I always say that these 4th graders kind of served as consultants to the project, because if you want unfiltered honesty, 4th graders can hook you up. The exercise circuit was developed by a physical therapist who's also a parent of children in the Norwayne School District. And all of the app's graphics, including Trail Traveler, the fitness voxel you'll see up there in the corner, were designed by a graphic designer. The project spanned nearly 2 years, from inception to the sunny spring day when we officially launched the app to the community, and with the County Line Trail app launch party. The launch party included a 5K and Rainbow Kids Fun Run with over 600 registered participants. In addition, there was a wellness family fair with yoga classes, chiropractic adjustments, and so much more. Over 120 people of all ages volunteered their time throughout the day, checking in runners, handing out water, and making sure the day was a success. 4 local law enforcement and safety agencies came out to ensure the event was safe and successful. Through it all, over 1,000 community members were exposed to the County Line Trail app and its mission of utilizing the health and fitness opportunities in the community. And because of the HPAC project model, 8 high school students were given the amazing opportunity to witness firsthand the difference that we can make in the health of our communities. Speaking next will be Cameron Mace. Cameron is a 2nd-year student at Cleveland State University with a double major in political science and Black studies. He has 2 HPAC projects, and these have led him to become a AmeriCorps member.
Good morning. So in high school, as a senior at MC Squareston High School, a part of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, a friend and I created a free library at the Greater Promise, the Greater Cleveland Family Promise Homeless Shelter. As a CMSD student, a lot of students come to school alone in unsafe neighborhoods, and a lot of them are actually homeless. And our school district does nothing for them, but as students with the HVAC project and the HVAC idea, we're able to create a homeless shelter. It has been running for 2 years. We started off with a book drive, and we've received funds to do a book purchase, and we built a library. The second one, Rejuvenation, is what we worked on as college students last year, and we will be going to Citizens Academy in the spring of 2018 to address social and behavioral issues that they suffer from. We want to create a safe space for them to talk about their academics and their personal lives that they are not comfortable with talking to their teachers and their families about. I am political science and Black studies, so health is very important now that I've realized with the healthcare industry. And I have to tell you that healthcare and health are 2 different things. Healthcare is policy and money, but health is the people. And if we do not know what the people need or what the people want, we cannot write policies for them. So HPAC has helped me kind of realize who I am and what I need to do as a local politician, as a state politician. Anything that I want to do in the government has to start with the bottom, as in the people. Mine was pretty short. I'm very passionate, but I am trying to keep my composure. So I have the opportunity to reintroduce Dr. Gina Weisblat, who was the creator of HVAC, the energy that so many people at Cleveland State University, at NeoMed, and so many high schools that CMSD has, inspires.
I have to push us down. My goodness, I'm so much shorter. Oh, it's so hard to go after the future. These are the greatest assets that we have. This is the change, and this is how we do it. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a very important concept. What these young people talked about is what I believe is citizenship health. And it's the way that we have to be engaged. It's the way that we utilize the family medicine revolution, because I think that's very, very important. I'm gonna, whoops, there we go. I shouldn't be touching. You got me. Okay, there we go. So go back one. Thank you. So I want to show you some pictures, and I want you to look at them, and I want you to think about what you think as you see these pictures. So take a look at these. We're going to pop to the next one. Go ahead. What are you thinking about? What's going through your head? You saw the 2 first pictures of the young people sitting on the hay. It looked like it could be in any community, anywhere. Then you saw a picture of veggie tacos being made. How do we eat healthy? What do we do? So that was in the Huff community. And the next picture you saw was a lot of what is in the Huff community, a lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of things that make people think twice about who they are and what's going on in their community, and it impacts their health. So I'm going to show you a couple more pictures. And you see the garage on the right. This is brand new, and within 2,000, 3,000 feet in that same community, we see abandoned building. Many of these, the kids walk by every day to go to school, that are at times filled with unhealthy situations. And I'm not picking on any hospital here because we're all responsible. I think it was well spoken before. We all have to take part in this. But I had to show you this because here's a brownfield on the left. And this is the area where the kids who go to the schools in that community have to play. That is about health. That is about how we change health. We have to understand that. We have to be a part of the community. It's very close to where the Cleveland Clinic is, and I love the Cleveland Clinic. It has so much to offer, but many of our hospitals are right next. And how do we change that? If we're health institutions, if we're health providers, are we really making a healthy community? What is a healthy community, and how do we make that happen? So this picture might look like it's not hope, but this is hope to me. This is change. This is people taking their existing assets. This is what we have. This is, if you see on the left, the home, it might not be perfect. They had to use sheets to make their curtains. And that's okay, because it worked, right? They're able to sleep at night and keep out the light. And you see that they have faith. They have a sign about their religion there. And you see that they're voting for somebody. They have a lawn sign. They're saying, okay, we gotta do something. We gotta get involved. We gotta be a part of our community. That is health. That's citizenship health, because that's how we make a difference. On the right, you see a pastor, and the building looks scary. It doesn't look fun, it doesn't look inviting, but I will tell you this, it is inviting when you walk in. It is warm. It is the change agent. It's the voice, and we have to connect with all these voices in the community to make change. So I know you already know this, because you are by far the most amazing group of physicians and physicians-to-be in the community. And I know that you study these things. As a social scientist, I look at things like social determinants of health. What is it that impacts us? 60% of our area, of where we live, impacts what happens. When we think about genetics, 30% basically, and of that 30%, 15% is probably where you live, what's going on around you. So these are a few of the social determinants of health that I identified, and I know you already know them, but take a minute to think about it. Take a look at that, and remember that, because this is what impacts our folks. When they come to you, they're going through all these things. You can't solve them all, but we, as a community, can have small wins. We can do small things. Dr. Craig is a big advocate of that, and I'm a big admirer of Dr. Craig. That's a first name, and he has really addressed these issues by the work that he does. So here we are. Look at how much we spend. Why are we spending all this money, and yet we are still struggling with these issues? It's because not enough of us are stepping up and saying we have to do something, saying we have to have small wins. We have to believe that there are assets in every community, and just finding those assets is critical. So in Ohio, I'm sad to say that the way that we address population health, this actually is an old slide, and I apologize, I meant to put in a new slide for you. We're worse than this, unfortunately. But if you go to HPIO, and if you're in Ohio, you can see the statistics. They are very good. They have a dashboard that tells us exactly what's going on. This is completely unacceptable. This is outrageous. We know the social determinants of health changes how things happen, and we have to hear that call. We have to do something about that. So 16 years on your life. You can quit smoking, or you can finish high school. These are important things. You finish college, guess what? You got an extra 7 years. Your zip code. You move from right where we were talking about John Hay, the school where Miss Johnson read the letter. You move, maybe 5 miles, and you have an additional 14 years of life, okay? That's not fair. Everybody should have the opportunity. So what I want to present to you as we finish up today is, how do we get there? How do we come together and make this happen? And each of us can do something little every day to make that happen. So this is a concept that we've been working on. The whole HPAC has been working on it. And this is a lot of jargon up here, but I'm going to walk us through it really quick just to help you think about it. So one of the things that we know is you have to look at the context. When I showed you the picture of the home that had the sheets, they were doing something. There was heart and hope there. That's good. That context means something. And you have to recognize it and respect where that's at and build upon that. and help folks in that area. It's not just about equality. If I said I'm going to give each one of you a pair of yellow shoes today, and guess what? They're all high heels and they're size 7. And how many of you can wear them? How many of you can use them? Probably not too many of you. Okay, I can wear them. That's my size. And I happen to like yellow. But equality really wouldn't work. We have to think about equity. We have to think about knowledge. What is the knowledge that exists in these communities? What do people know? What can they do to improve? Because there's so many things they can do. There's so many things our government, people around us, that we can influence, can do to change the circumstances. Personal responsibility. We have rights. We have tremendous rights in this country. We are so lucky. We have a responsibility with those rights, and we have to begin to make that change. And regardless of what we see, if we see bad behavior elsewhere, we should say something, but we also have to recognize we're not perfect. We are all dysfunctional in our own ways. But we can take that and we can change things as a result. We have a responsibility. The fourth component, or the fourth pillar of citizenship health is health is public good. There is no way on earth that you can be successful in life if you are not healthy. It's just the way it works. You know that better than I do. I wanted to share that concept with you today. I want you to take a look at this when surveyed, and this data is very interesting to me. So I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to give you a moment to read it yourself. What is amazing to me is I'm preaching to the choir. Most of you know it. So it's a strategy. How do we get there? So I have a very good friend, a mentor, who is Dr. Art Kaufman. He's in New Mexico, and I've worked with him quite a bit. And he uses this social determinant prescription, and it's absolutely wonderful. He has a community health worker see his patients when they come in, and they fill this out. It's not complicated. It's really easy to use. And they check what they need. Then they see Dr. Kaufman, and after they see Dr. Kaufman, they're able to share with him what's going on, but he can't, let's say they have bed bugs. He can't go get them a new mattress. He doesn't have time for that. His job isn't that. His job is to help figure out how to make them healthy, how work within the community to do it. But he has a community health worker who then looks at this prescription, helps the person figure out, and knows where that mattress is. It makes it happen. That's an example of how we can change. That's an example of how we can use the whole team to make a difference. So this is a really interesting study that they did. If you look at that, and it's outstanding. I mean, to me, the numbers are so sexy. I love that number. It's over 3,000 people. And if you look at what happened with this study around the needs of people, it is outrageous. I mean, these are folks. If you have no utilities, how are you going to manage? How are you going to make things happen? If you don't have any light, how are you going to read your books at night? How are you going to do well in school? How are you going to succeed? It's a challenge. So the 2 slides I showed before, if anyone's interested, I will provide with Mr. Bauer the articles that came out that are published in that area. I show you this next slide because this is the population that we spend a lot of time, that top triangle there, where most of our resources are going. 5% of the population uses over 70% of our resources in the medical community. This is very important, and we do need to address this. You probably all have heard of frequent flyers, people who end up in the emergency room instead of using their primary care, their family physician. We have to change that. That can't happen. We have to figure out how to make a difference within that. And if you look at this slide, it's going to flip soon. We have the baby boomers coming. And I say that with tremendous respect because this generation of baby boomers has taught me how to change the world, has inspired me how to make a difference. And I'm going to ask you to think about this because where you see the 3, it's going to go further down. And where you see the 2, it's going to go further down. And you know who's going to begin to solve these issues? What's going to happen when the baby boomers want to have, my dad just had it, and I'm going to say this funny, shoulder surgery. There we go, I got it out. He got a new shoulder. And so he is an example of somebody, he's very healthy at 80 years old, but he had the surgery. How much can we afford? we don't have endless resource. We have to figure that out. Those are questions we have to answer. Those are questions you have to help guide us on. And here are the folks who are going to make that change. So government is making some big changes, and we don't know what's going to happen right now. Things are a little messy, okay? And that's okay. We go through trends like this. It's going to get better. It's going to get organized. But right now we have a carrot and stick approach, okay? If you see a certain number of patients from this area and you're able to meet that quota, then you can get reimbursed. If not, you're not going to get reimbursed. And this is going to impact hospitals. This is going to impact areas where there's low income, because people want to be successful and they want to be able to show they're making it. So is this the right model? I don't know. I show it to you, I talk about it, because we have to have those conversations. You need to go back and have those conversations with your colleagues. That is citizenship health. That's sharing the knowledge and thinking about it. So we talked a little bit about HPAC. That's one way that I practice citizenship health. I have the honor to work with medical students, with high school students, with college students, and faculty, and we begin to make a difference. We have an ideas model, which is all about identify an issue, develop a plan with the community to solve it, enact that plan, assess it, and then share it. And you gave us the honor to share that plan while we were here, and it was unbelievable. I hope you got to see the posters of these young people. It just, my heart, I didn't even know all the projects that these young people were doing. It was tremendous. So I want to share this slide because I teach a community experience class at Northeast Ohio Medical University, and one of the things we know is that it takes, and this is not true, I know, family physicians, but 17 seconds for a physician to interrupt their patient, okay? And so one of the things we want to do is teach humanistic values to our students and get them to understand, what does it mean to listen to the community? Don't tell the community, hear and believe and trust in the community. So we take our students out, and here's an example of how they make a difference. These students were talking about the difference in life expectancy for African American men versus Caucasians. And we know that racism and these things still exist, because if we look at the statistics, we can see that there's a difference in life expectancy, and that shouldn't happen. That is our responsibility. That's health. That's what we do, and we have to pay attention to things along those lines and change them. So we're moving into this new wellness culture, and that's really important, and it makes a big difference. And so how are we going to use it? How are we going to use technology to make a difference? Because it's there. It's very hard to integrate it into the EMR or the EHR. You can't right now have your patients take their blood pressure, all these different things, and put it in, because how are you going to monitor that? We're starting to figure that out. But look at the tools that are available to make a difference. So I put this slide up because we know 75% of our senior population connects with family and friends. And we also know that 8 out of 10 people have one trusted person that they share about their health. So if we know seniors are on social media and they're taking part, and we know the baby boomer population is coming up, how do we connect? How do we connect our young people to all of this to begin to change and build a new culture around preventative versus reactive health, which is absolutely critical. So e-wellness today is really exciting. So we've got all these wearables. People have them all over the place. 76% of doctors talk about their patients with their wearables. What are we doing with this data? How can we use it? Those are the conversations that we need to have. So this is my last slide in this area, and I love this slide. It's absolutely my favorite, one of my favorites, because there's two things that are really important to me. So I grew up in a home where my mother had paranoid schizophrenia, and it wasn't diagnosed, and we made the best of it. It taught me how to use the resources and the assets of the community. My mom, she was a teacher, and then the disease really hit, and sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, but she wasn't on medication. By the time I was 20, I had to probate her 11 times in order to get help for her. Fortunately, I had a supportive boyfriend and then husband, And we were able to do that. And then she became a really important part of our lives again and did some really exciting things. But her heart was always there, and she drove me. If we had had these pills with the sensors, then I would have known she was taking her meds. 50% of the population, after you prescribe medication to them, do not take those pills, okay? They don't do what they need to do. And so this is really important. This is new technology. It's not snooping on people. It's helping people. It's monitoring. But how do we do it? How do we make it possible? And then the slide on the right is the sensor slide. And I'm going to talk just a moment about that. My dad, who I told you is 80, I would love for him to wear one of those necklaces where, you know, if I fall, help, you know, I can get up, because I'm always worried. There's no chance, because my dad thinks he's 50, 40. I'm not sure what he thinks. He told me he's going to be 150, and that's exciting. But I don't know, and we don't know as a community. This model on the right is one where you can put sensors into a home. You can put sensors on a couch. You can put sensors on a refrigerator, not so you can see people, but so you can make sure there's movement going on. And how do we use that technology? Can we use people to study that? Sure. We can have community health workers. We can have students. There are so many existing assets that we can utilize to make a difference. And this is the new technology that's coming. I'll tell you funny, in 10 years from now, and you're gonna laugh at me, but when you go to the bathroom, you're gonna be able to flush that toilet, and somebody's gonna be able to tell you about your sample, okay? That's pretty interesting. Those are the kinds of technologies that are in our future. So I'm gonna leave you today with a few questions. I want to know what you're gonna do in your state tomorrow. I wanna know what you're gonna do the day after that. How are you gonna make that difference? How are you gonna be on top of it? And then the last is, what will you do, and I apologize for the typo, when people question you? Because people are gonna question you. They question me all the time. They're like, oh, why are you doing this? This isn't gonna make a difference. It does make a difference, because our assets can be used to build capacity in our context and create sustainable systems. And I know this community is ready to do it. I saw it all weekend. I've seen it for the past 6 years that I've had the honor to be a part of this conference. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the consortium. I want to thank all the hosts. And I want to thank most of all the students and staff who support me in the projects that I'm doing. Thank you very much.